Hello. Here are some tips from psychological research about how to train yourself and your brain to get a good night's sleep. My name is Chros Basten, clinical psychologist in Sydney, sharing with you what I've learnt over the years and from the literature. There are 8 points, and if you'd like more details, go to our website. The details are at the end of this. In which you can find a detailed PDF. I'm going to be quite brief here in this video. Number 1 out of 8 points, create a regular pattern. You'll read this in every blog and every website. That means you want to be able to have a schedule where you get to bed and rise the same time every morning and every evening. It's important. The brain just loves routine, and we can shape how we work, but we have to be quite disciplined about it. We want to condense down the period in which we sleep to about 8 hours each night, and absolutely no naps during the day. Create a regular pattern. Number 2, what you do during the day counts. Here are the key tips. We want to try to get exposure to some natural light, especially early in the morning. And try to tire yourself out a little bit as much as possible. This leads into number 3, what you eat and drink during the day counts. Most people know that we need to watch our caffeine intake, especially from lunchtime onwards. But make sure you know which foods have some caffeine and which others can be stimulating. Even chocolate and hot chocolate can have a stimulating effect for some people, and teas that you might be comfortable with may contain caffeine. And you may know that some sports drinks and other sweetened drinks do as well. Alcohol has the effect of disrupting our rapid eye movement or REM sleep, and so really needs to be avoided for good health in general. But if you're struggling with your sleep, watch out for your alcohol intake. Number 4, the bedroom environment is obviously very important. Perhaps the most important thing I can say about the bedroom environment is that we want to make sure that our brain associates our bed with being asleep. If you're struggling with your sleep, that means no Netflix, no entertainment, not doing your work and assignments in bed. Otherwise, your brain will associate bed with activity and arousal. We also want to make sure that the room is the right temperature and is dark enough and quiet enough to be conducive for sleep. We're up to point number 5. Create a wind down time. Now, authorities on sleep recommend that the brain needs at least an hour between the last exposure to a device, especially a backlit device, and then trying to wind down. The brain just gets lit up from the front right through to the back by looking at devices. Try to get to know yourself, and I'd recommend at least half an hour, which means that what we might want to do is generate a list right now of things that you can do for at least 30 minutes between closing your computer, tablet, or putting your phone away, and then what are you going to do until you go to sleep? Flipping through a magazine, doing a crossword, listening to an audio book or a podcast. They're all quite good activities. You need to think about ways in your wind down time also of being able to relax your body. We'll get to some other drifting off techniques later. Number 6 is empty your mind. Now, this is really important but often underrated. There are some classic ways to empty your mind, which I'll share with you now. We often use a displacement strategy. That's when we just put any activity into our mind. These need to be fairly neutral ideas. That's when people suggest that you do things like, counting backwards from a certain number. I like the idea of doing multi-sensory visual imagery. So not just seeing things in your mind's eye, but also noticing what you can touch and smell and hear and so on as you go for a walk, perhaps up and down your street or down a beach. and that will fill all your senses and your mind can start to drift off. Another classic technique to empty your mind is to have a little notepad, and you use it every evening about half an hour before bed, where you acknowledge anything that's coming up the next day, things that you have been through that day that need processing, and it's like you're just doing a download or a dump onto the bit of paper. The end result is that you and your mind can make a deal saying, right, I can switch off for the next 10 hours. I do not need to think about anything, solve any problems, process any emotions, remember things for next day, because it's all on the bit of paper. So take that process seriously of emptying your mind. Try some different hypnotic techniques. By that I mean how we let ourselves just drift off. Some of the classic ones include doing what we might call a bit of a body scan, where with your eyes shut you just start to bring your attention to different body parts and progressively work through from your toes and your heels up through your body, all the way through your upper legs, your back, your shoulders, your arms, your neck. You could combine that with breathing and letting yourself go floppier and heavier each time you breathe out. Some people just count their breaths, focusing all of their attention on the minutiae of each breath, bringing their attention there and letting themselves sink deeper and deeper into the mattress each time they exhale. You might have some of your other favourite tricks as well. The final and eighth strategy for you to make sure that you sleep well is just take the pressure off. We can't force ourselves to sleep. It's one of the ultimate paradoxes in life, is the more we want to sleep, the more upset we are about it, the further sleep moves from us. We need to keep some things in mind then. If we don't, one of the ways I like to think about it is if we don't fall asleep, maybe we don't need that sleep. And good sleep researchers have shown that lying in bed, still with our eyes shut, and our mind drifting a little bit, is a really good second best in terms of physiological repair for the body and the brain. So if you're really struggling, feel free just to do some of those hypnotic strategies or the displacement strategies we've talked about. They might work, they might not work. That's fine. The more we want them to work, perhaps the less they will work because of that paradoxical effect. And even if it doesn't, that's okay, because lying there still is a really good second best. And practicing those techniques will just help you to strengthen your mind's agility. The final point I'd like to share with you is that a severe agitated sleep disturbance can be a sign of a mood disturbance like depression, or symptomatic of a more serious stress-related disorder. If you're really worried about your mood or you'd like more tips, you can contact me or one of my colleagues at www.bastenpsychology.com.au. Stay well and healthy, treat each other well. Hope to see you soon.